Kia ora crew, Coach Brad here, and with the help of Coach Dan, we're going to give you 6 simple cues to break you out of that running funk and get you back into that running flow. Now, I've run in run races from 400 meters right up to trail ultras, and these 6 cues work for any run, training or racing in any distance. I've heard many coaches call out mid-run, "Don't sit back." Now, what does that mean? So my old triathlon coach, Dr. John Hellemans, used to say that when runners get fatigued, they sit in the bucket, meaning they bend at the pelvis. It looks like they're sitting backwards into a bucket. Bending forward from the waist or the pelvis mucks up our running efficiency and mucks up that flow. It creates overstriding. You're basically hitting with your heel on the stride, which really breaks your momentum with every step. Now, we do want to lean forward when we're running, but not from the pelvis, but from the ankle. So the number one cue that I love to think about when my run form is failing me is lean forward from the ankle. Now, over to trail man, Coach Dan, who's going to give us the second cue. Go for it, Dan.
Hey, thanks, Coach Brad. Listen, now that we've got you leaning forward at the ankles, I want you to think about your posture as you move. And so you're leaning forward at the ankles, but now it's time to think about an upright stance starting from your hips. You do this as you move, which I am now out here on the trail, but it works on the trail, it works on the road. No matter what kind of race you're in, these cues are good for you. Thinking about your hips first, are they even? Are they moving well and fluidly? Are you weak on one side or another? Just thinking about hip positioning changes your hip positioning. It's wild how bodies and minds are connected that way. So thinking about that hip stability and then moving upward to your core. Is it tight but not flexed? Are you holding yourself upright properly through that thoracic spine? Next, as we move up, is shoulders. Down and back, away from your ears. You don't want to be running up like this. It's no good for you. So thinking about keeping those shoulders down and back and away from your ears is great. The next thing for me is about height as we add sort of structure to your back line and to your core. And that's to think about somebody pulling up the top, the crown of your head, like from a string. So your chin is going to move up. It's relaxed. We're not, up like this. We're not down too far, but pulled up from the top of your head to keep that head in a nice neutral, strong, supported position is a great way to go.
Awesome, Dan, thanks. From Canada all the way to Aotearoa, New Zealand. Back in 1999, I raced the Hawaiian Ironman. Now, at the back half of that marathon, I was shuffling along in an absolute world of agony and hurt. And there was one word that was shouted to me by a plucky Australian that changed my race: bricks. Now, before the race started, I chatted to an Australian named Emma, who said that when you are suffering on the marathon, think bricks, stepping over bricks. That visualization helps lift the knees and improve that stride length. So when I was in that world of hurt, the visualization bricks saved me from that funk. So now, back over to Dan for cue number 4.
I sometimes find if I have one mental cue to think about instead of a bunch of them, it makes it a lot easier. So this one, I'm going to give you 2 separate ways of thinking, but it's the same cue. And this is around your push-off. So much of efficiency comes from that push-off. And here's the first way I like to think about it. I like to think about my big toe as being the rooting and grounding part of every stride. And so pushing deep and hard with that big toe as you spring forward and push off can be a really great and powerful cue. If you're actually using your big toe correctly, you're kind of doing a lot of things right from the toes on up. Lots of us don't really do this as we think about normal running or as we just are out for a normal relaxed run. It's a stride tip and a posture tip that can really make a big difference in how we think of that push off, rooting that big toe in each and every step. Now, this doesn't resonate for everybody. I've talked to lots of athletes that kind of roll their eyes when I tell them to root their big toe as they push off. And so I've got a different cue for those of you that it doesn't work for, but it's still about the push off. And that's to think about my favorite muscle, your glutes. That's right, think about your butt as you're doing this type of push-off work. If you're using that big, strong butt of yours to do the push-off work, chances are you're gonna do a better job of not getting too fatigued. And I think that's a major part of keeping going when you start to get tired and when you start to lose focus. It's finding a way to combat that fatigue through physical cues, and running, thinking about your big, strong butt is a great way to do it.
Great, Dan. Excellent info as usual. Our bodies are completely connected by fascial trains. Now, these fascial sheaths basically encompass every muscle, tendon, ligament, bone, and major organ in the entire body. So you can increase your elastic potential and your energy by pumping your arms in sync with your legs. Obviously, you don't want to be pumping your arms furiously all the time, otherwise it's going to drain far more energy than that delivers. But you can strategically use your arms when you're running in times of need, when you want an extra little bit of power or zip, say up a rise or sprinting for that finish line. So relax your shoulders and use those arms strategically to deliver energy as efficiently as possible during a training run or a race. So if your form is going by the wayside, think arm swing. It's a great cue to get you back into that flow. Right, now back over to Coach Dan for what I think is the most holistic and one of the most powerful cues there is to get you back into flow and out of funk. Over to you, Dan.
My last cue for today is the most important for me, and it's sort of the most crunchy, I think, and that's to be grateful. It's really, really difficult to be steeped in your own misery and think about how much you're hurting and how tough running can be if you are being genuinely grateful. Now, we all have different things in our lives that we want to show gratitude and be grateful for, and far be it for me to prescribe to you what you should be grateful for. But I will tell you what I'm grateful for a lot of the time, and that's that I've got this body of mine that's able to do this work and take me places that I love. And focusing on that at times can really make a big difference for me. And so being able to think through how glad I am that this old body of mine has held up for 40 years and has kept going allows me to get out on these amazing trails every single day and run in some of the coolest places in the world is really an amazing thing for me, and it's something that I am constantly grateful for, and I like to keep reminding myself of that. Now, I know for lots of people it's different things. You know, certainly we can be grateful for our family and our friends, our support networks that allow us to get out and do these things. Those are all great. Find something that works for you. It's hard to be focused on negative emotions when you're also feeling true gratitude. There you have it. There are Coach Brad and my 6 tips for getting through some of the tougher parts of running. I know I love making videos with Coach Brad. He always brings amazing things forward. And one of the things that he always talks about that I've learned from is how connected our minds and bodies are. And that's really what these tips or cues do for you. They really help you understand that these little things can really change how you're interacting with yourself as you run on these long things. He's got a great way of describing those things. It's not just a very good accent. Can you imagine the way he says bricks? God, it's perfect, isn't it? We'll see you back here for the next video here at the Run Experience.